stock only. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253 DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Oh, yeah. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall.
It's Friday, and we got football. Oh, yeah, it's here. I actually went last night, saw the first half of the Christian Brothers White Station game. I know Eli did that game. Holy cow. White Station, well, they just physically couldn't match up with Christian Brothers. I have no idea how good Christian Brothers is going to be. They couldn't match up with them at all. Every other play, there was a penalty. It's crazy. Tonight we got a couple of really good games. The one I'm going to try to make is Bartlett, third-ranked team in the city with a bunch of guys who are going to D1 schools. And number 7, MUS, which has not been placed in any of the statewide polls, but 7 in the commercial appeal top 10. So that's 3 versus 7. The number 1 school in the area, Houston, the defending state champions, at 6A. They will take on Briarcrest, perennially a really good team. Philip Massey, their coach. On paper, maybe a good matchup, but Houston seems to be pretty darn powerful. So that'll be kind of fun to watch. It was really a good time yesterday at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. The ground was broken. First off, let me just say this. I was so impressed with how good, I know it's a construction site, but if you looked inside, they have power washed and they have cleaned up. They have made Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium look really good. Field looks fantastic. And like I say, it's a whole lot cleaner. And we saw the way it's going to look. You know, you're not going to have any of those middle stands that we all watched as it was eaten away. And then the press box came down with the implosion, and then they ate away at all those middle stands, like from, I want to say it's 15 to 15, maybe it's 20 to 20, where all those stands are gone. Then there is, for the corners, there's a link fence on both sides, so you will not be able to sit in the section by the linked fence. There will be a buffer zone there. But you will be able to sit in the others. So I'm going to say from maybe the 10 or the 5-yard line in that corner, both sides, you'll be able to sit there. And they have spruced it up. It really does look good. And, of course, everybody was on hand. Richard Smith, whose family, and Samantha, his sister, they were there representing the Smith family that has made a donation of $50 million. That's the family. Of course, it's FedEx that has come up with $25 million for the NIL. So FedEx and the Smith family has been overly generous to the University of Memphis. Ed Scott spoke, the athletic director, and Dr. Scott says, let's go. It's time to compete. He's really ready for that. He's made a couple of hires. We mentioned that yesterday. Tim Duncan is coming on board. Terrence Lowry, who was a guy who has worked for Ed Scott at 2 different schools. He called him his most trusted advisor. He is coming on board. So he's building his own guy. Still got to do a business guy is the last critical hire for sure. And then there may be some other additions as he's restructuring the way things are done. The president spoke, and I thought he was spot on. He was eloquent, in fact, in the way he put it. He goes, people don't believe that we're doing it. And then he looked underneath the tent toward the vacant area where the press box and all those seats are gone. And he said, some people just have to see it to believe it. Look, it's actually going on. So they have it going. I believe Dr. Scott did say remember, they had the initial $25 million, and they were working on that. And I think they've gotten several more million past that to get to the end of that first phase, which means they'll start vertically going up and building the new premium seating, all those suites that will go in. The second phase will I should say the first phase is already underway. That clearing it all out and doing the suites over there, converting that to a press box, phase 1. Phase 2, I guess, is where they're at now. Phase 3, and that's the one that will be the most tricky one to see if they really raise all the money for that. That will be when they make that little party deck. I shouldn't say party. It's a big party deck now. Make it a little party deck and add more premium seating. That would be the third phase. And the pictures were up, and it was good. It was a really nice event. As I said, Richard Smith was eloquent. So was Ryan Silverfield. And it was fun to listen to Ed Scott again, who's just a charismatic guy. And of course, Dr. Hargrave. So it was a good day. A lot of donors there, and hopefully things keep rolling. There's no question this is the most anticipated season, I think, ever, preseason-wise. You know, everything built up that year when the Tigers won the conference championship and went to the Cotton Bowl. That was just a constant buildup because you had so many games that you had to win, and you weren't necessarily the darling, the favorite to begin with. But with SMU gone now, and there's no more UCF, and there's no more Cincinnati, and there's no more Houston, with those teams gone, you're the favorite. It's probably the best job in the conference. Maybe you could make an argument USF could be up there, Tulane's success and their prestige as an academic school, but I really think if you're looking at everything, this is probably the best school, the best total overall program left in the conference. And most people are picking them. Not just to win the conference, but most are picking them. The majority of the experts are saying they're the one that will be the Group of 5 representative. So this is the most anticipated season that I can recall since I got here in 1981. That makes it fun in a lot of ways, but as everybody reminded Ryan Silverfield yesterday, no pressure, right? He took it in stride. Look, you'd rather be the darling and people expecting good things, I think, than to be forgotten about and have fan apathy. And there's no fan apathy now. Now, it'll be curious to me what kind of crowds we will see for these football games. The Troy game is really an important game. Again, I've looked at a lot of these power rankings, these team rankings, and most of the experts, after Memphis, they have, before there's another American team, they got Troy in there. There'll be 32,000 seats available, ladies and gentlemen, for purchase. I'll be curious to see just how many will attend these ball games. I sure hope there are going to be a lot. We got Tim Doolin coming your way, actually momentarily here. Andy Schiffman on a lot of stuff with the NBA. That will come your way at the bottom of the hour. Our final segment will be Brian Takis, and we'll talk a little bit more about the groundbreaking. Oh, they nabbed the penny porch pirate. And I guess the news this morning, and I didn't even know it until I guess you mentioned this, Mr. Boyd. But did I see that Hideki Matsuyama, who, by the way, was 5 under yesterday, that he's withdrawn from the tournament?
That's correct.
What happened?
They're saying that he has a lower back injury.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. But this guy's had so much stuff happen to him between the theft of all his stuff in England, having to get a new caddy last week, then having the lead almost wire to wire, blowing the lead, coming back, winning the darn thing, and getting $4 million for it, or 3.6, whatever it was. And then having a great first round. The leader, by the way, is Adam Scott, who was 4 under yesterday, 3 under today. I just, that's amazing that he had to withdraw. When you just won a tournament and you are, I think he was in second place going into today's second round. That's unbelievable. That's crazy. I'm in the Family Leisure Studio. Don't forget the world's biggest spa sale will go on at least through the end of the month. I know that for sure. And we are counting down. It's the 23rd of August. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs. They're ready for delivery. The spas start at $28.99. Those new things, the cold plunges, so many people are into that now to get your circulation going. They're under $4,000. Swim spas start at $17,499. Those are the huge ones. You, by the way, know that there's special financing available. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Family Leisure, where family fun and the biggest spa sale are all coming together. Let's travel. I think it's southwestward we go. You never know where Tim Doolin is because his empire is so vast. We love talking baseball with Tim Doolin. And let's start with Aaron Judge. 48 home runs. I think the record is, 72 by Barry Bonds in a single season?
I believe so.
He's not going to get that, but he's the American League MVP, especially if the Yankees win their division, right?
No question. He's had a great year. He stayed healthy for the most part, which is critical. You know what, Wolo? People don't realize how big this guy is until you see him in person. He is a big man. And for him to be able to do the things he does on the baseball field, I haven't seen anything like it since Dave Winfield. I mean, he runs, he throws, he can defend, hits, for average, and obviously is a big-time run producer. So it's pretty amazing what he's done.
He took a bit of a PR hit this past week, and honestly, I think it was unjustified from what I've gathered. But, the Yankees were in Williamsport, Pennsylvania for the Little League World Series. They did a game. I think it was with Detroit. And so the Yankees were mingling with a bunch of the baseball teams, and Judge mingled with some of the teams, but apparently he did not mingle with the team that represented the New York area. I don't know if it was Long Island or I'm not sure exactly which borough in New York they came from, but it was a New York City area team. And the coach took great umbrage with it. But apparently, Judge had mingled with everybody else, and this coach came out of nowhere. And I mean the Yankees, the administration of the Yankees, the manager, the GM, everybody basically called out the coach and said Aaron Judge is one of the most giving players there is. So I think for a second he took a PR hit, but so many people came to his aid that you found out he's really a good guy.
Oh, he's a good guy. I mean, I've had other players that have played with him, against him, and this guy's a consummate pro. I mean, people are going to always throw, cast stones at people just because they can. Chas Chisholm, he mingled in the crowd. I mean, I thought it was a great event. I think it's great for baseball, obviously great for the growth of baseball, and I thought Major League Baseball actually did a very, very good job in collaboration with the Little League World Series.
All right. You mentioned his health earlier on. Yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. I do like that. But you mentioned Aaron Judge's health. I'll tell you who's not healthy anymore, and that is Austin Riley, who's got a broken hand hit by a pitch. The Atlanta Braves 6 games behind the Phillies, who are having a banner year. 21 games over 500 as always. This Phillies team has been really good the last few years. It's tough because I know you know Austin Riley pretty well. I don't know if you've talked to him since he had this injury. He's obviously from South Haven, played at DeSoto Central, and was at one time a Doolin Dodger. This guy is a heck of a player, and he's 6 to 8 weeks? That really hurts the Braves' chances of catching the Phils.
Yeah, no, it really does, because he was really, I think, the heart and soul of that lineup. They lost Acuna, which was another big hit.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a tough year for the Braves. And Austin Riley, his dad, they're just consummate baseball people. Always goes about his business in the right way. And I know he's crushed more for the team than he is himself. He's just never been a selfish player. And so, yeah, it's a big blow for the Braves. And I don't know how they're going to be able to get back in this hunt. And even if they do, I think if they get to a wild card, it's going to be long. It'll be short lived. But the Phillies, to your point, have been remarkable. I think they've really done a good job of putting together a really good baseball team that does, and hits all cylinders as far as the facets of the game, as far as defense, pitching. They got a great bullpen. They've got some team speed, much like the Cleveland Indians. The Indians continue to produce really good players and bring up young players from within their minor league system, and they're just in the mix every year.
Yeah, Cleveland does it quietly because maybe that division is so bad. Although, honestly, you take a look at it, Kansas City and Minnesota are really not bad teams this year. The White Sox are the worst team in baseball, and maybe the worst team since the '62 Mets. 31-97 now. They're literally 42 and a half games behind the Cleveland Guardians, 40 and a half behind the wild card entry. It's bad. But that division is not so bad, and Cleveland seems to be doing it very quietly. I'll tell you another interesting race for a while was the American League West, where it was Houston, Seattle, and Texas. Well, now Houston has flexed their muscles. They got a 5.5 game lead on everybody. Seattle's at 500 at 64-64. I can't remember a team. They've lost 3 in a row, and they're 2-8 in the last 10, but 500, and they fired Scott Service, their manager. I was a little surprised at that. You?
Yeah, a little surprised. I tell you, and I'm 100% speculating here, but I do think that the Mariners and most of the clubs in the major leagues are managed by the front office, and I think Scott Service has been around a long time. He's a great player, and I think he's been a very good manager for a club that has really underperformed as far as putting a good product on the field, but yet I think he's done a good job. I sense that he got frustrated with the management, the front office telling him who to play, who to pitch. When this situation happens, bring this guy in. And when frustration hits, things like this happen because a 500 team shouldn't be firing their manager, and they're still in the hunt, even though they're 2-8 in their last 10 games. Because when you do this, I don't think it's gonna make the play. It's not gonna make the players play any harder. I can assure you, they're playing hard. They're just not putting together wins. But yet, you're blaming the manager in essence for things that he can't control because he's not making decisions.
Yeah, well,
crazy.
They've got let's see. 34 games left, maybe. They're 5.5 back, 7.5 in the wild card. So I don't know how many games they got left with Houston, or how many Houston and Texas have left, because that would be a part of it. But it is to the point where it's getting a little dicey. That is for sure. But I agree with you. I don't think Scott Service deserved that. So, but that's the way it goes. Joey Votto, the former the Red, retired, 6-time All-Star. 2010, he was the National League MVP. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think so. I think it's going to. He's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think he's a Hall of Famer. You just look at the body of work and the longevity and the numbers that he put up. Obviously, playing in a smaller market, but he's been a consummate pro. We actually have represented him. Our agencies are actually represented him his whole career, and little eccentric kind of guy, but a big time leader in that clubhouse for all those years, and played the game the right way and respected the game. I think, he really doesn't have any blemishes on his, from outside of the game.
Right.
And I do think he's a Hall of Famer. I do.
I don't think you'll ever have to buy a beer in Cincinnati, right? And he walks into a bar, They're all going to buy him for sure.
No question. He's going to be a really good color commentator. He'll be on your TV as soon as next year. Wow. He's really, really animated and funny and very intelligent.
Jason Hayward is a guy who came up and was a star with the Braves. The Cubs paid him a lot of money, and he was a part of the championship team. Moved on to
Overpaid him. The Cubs overpaid him. Yes,
that's
you're right.
true. I agree with that 100%. The Dodgers have had him. They've just designated him for assignment. Is that the end of Jason Hayward's career?
I do believe so. And I know that some of the Dodgers, including Mookie, really like the guy. I think he was a great clubhouse player or clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's why the Dodgers kept him around this year was because of his leadership.
100%. And he did make some swing adjustments and made some improvement, but I do think that it's time to call it quits.
And then the last thing, ESPN does a Major League Baseball power rankings every week. I find them interesting to read anyway. And this week, they say, you could pull one out of the hat. That's how close it is. They've got Dodgers 1, Yankees 2, Phillies 3, Baltimore 4, and they're in the big battle with the Yankees. Milwaukee 5, Cleveland 6. You agree with those? How would you rate them if not?
I agree with them. And like we talked about off the air, I think until you get to the middle of September, you really can't determine, because whoever's playing the best baseball after the middle of September going down the home stretch is going to be who the best team is, because, you get hot, it could be one of the teams that's ranked 6th that ends up winning the thing. And we've seen that over and over the last several years. So I still think it's going to, the Dodgers being 1, okay, but they're not 100% healthy.
No.
And even though Kershaw's back, I mean, you can't count on Kershaw finishing the year strong. You hope for it, but I mean, here's a guy that's had multiple back injuries, multiple surgeries. He pitched good the other night, but I think there's just a lot of question marks with all these clubs.
Here's the thing: will the Dodgers be completely healthy for the playoffs?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right.
I can't answer that question. That's the struggle you have. And talent-wise and on paper today, yeah, for sure, they should be number 1. But, I mean, look, the Yankees are having a great year. It's going to come down to, who can stay healthy and who gets hot at the right time. And I think it's gonna bode for a very fun and entertaining postseason. I can tell you that.
He's our baseball guy. He's Tim Doolin. He's moving to Tuesday, starting a week from this next Tuesday as we move into our football fall lineup. Tim, always a pleasure chatting. Next time we speak, the postseason will be even more clear as to the wild card and everything else. Can't wait to get into that.
Sounds good. Have a great weekend, Wolo.
You too, my friend. That is our guy on baseball. That is Tim Doolin. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage? At Southern Security, they offer the lowest rates, flexible terms, no PMI, and unbeatable service. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage leader. For more info, just visit online at southernsecurity.org or call the office. Yes, you can actually call and talk to a human being at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender, proud supporters of the U of M Athletics Department. Southern Security, your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. We take a break. When we come back, Chicago-bound we are. No, we're not talking the Democratic National Convention. We're talking NBA with Andy Schiffman. He's next.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
There is no reason to suffer the Memphis summer heat when you could just haul yourself downtown to Bell Tavern, Memphis's perfect neighborhood bar. There's nothing like the cool, comfortable atmosphere at Bell Tavern. Just grab a table or a stool at the bar and watch the poor suckers that don't know any better walk by in the withering heat in Barbaro Alley when they could be like you, inside Bell Tavern, laughing at other people. I know, it's not nice to laugh at other people, but when they're walking right past Bell Tavern, well, honestly, they kind of have it coming.
For life's spectacular moments, only a real diamond will do. At Sissy's Log Cabin, you'll discover a brilliant selection of natural diamonds, along with our promise of unmatched quality and service. The only real diamond is a natural diamond from Sissy's. Find yours when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Discover the natural diamond of your dreams only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on the shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding and a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call CraigGranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for you get it done.
Right now at Wendy's, you can get a small Frosty for $1. And literally everyone is going. The car behind you, going to get a $1 Frosty. The car ahead of you, already had one, going for a second. The person who cut you off earlier, you guessed it, $1 Frosty. Maybe it's all a sign for you to go get one. Just don't cut anyone off. No one likes that person. The iconic Frosty for $1, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Not valid in a combo. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, California, and via third-party delivery.
Of everything that is
Back to Wolo and friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
Welcome back in. Weekend's here just about. Hope you're going to go restock all those spirits that you want to enjoy watching college football in Dublin, or heck, SMU's playing. I believe North Alabama's actually playing this weekend. That'll be the team Memphis plays a week from Saturday. The place to go to stock up is the Spirit Shop. You know, that's Eddie Connor's place. He's been around since '69 at Poplar and St. Nick. Man, he's got an expertise, and he shares that he loves to educate you on what's up and coming, why something might be rare. And he's got rare bourbons, and he's got rare tequilas, he's got rare wines, and he's, of course, got up-and-comers. He'll tell you which one is up-and-coming and why. He's got the knowledge. He's got all the local beers. He's got every accessory. If you would like a particular craft cocktail that you need different things for, even a rub for that glass, he's got everything. All the accessories you could possibly want. Anything that has to do with spirit, they've got it at the Spirit Shop. That's right, at Poplar and St. Nick, 4848 Poplar to be exact. To the Windy City we go, and Andy Schiffman joins us now. You saw the new schedule come out. There's so many interesting, good Grizzlies games, but is there league-wide, any games that you're really looking forward to that you think are intriguing? Good morning.
Morning, Dave. Well, I really loved watching the Cup, the inaugural Cup they had last year when the Lakers won, and I'm excited for this Cup this year. I know that schedule's out. That's been posted all over. So those few games I'm really looking forward to. I mean, always, it goes without saying, Christmas Day game, especially, like, I love watching this Knicks team, and I know they're going to be matched up, I believe, against the Spurs and Wemby. Mm-hmm. And the Spurs aren't really going to be in contention for a title this year, but just that competition and those stars going up against one another, I think will be great to watch. Then you got the Sixers and Celtics that day, Nuggets, Suns. And obviously Martin Luther King Day, you got Minnesota coming into Memphis. So that'll be a good one to watch, too. So, just some of those I'm excited for. And then me, in particular, as an agent, I always kind of first go to the Chicago Bulls schedule in Milwaukee and Indiana, those geographically close locations to where I can get out and kind of map out when to go visit my players when they're in or around Chicago.
How many games a year do you think you see on a regular basis between those three cities?
Live?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about watching film or video or games that night. I know that's every night.
Yeah, I would say for the Bulls games, I probably attend about 10 to 12, which you actually might think is a low number, but realistically, I'll primarily go to Bulls games when the other team has one of my clients on it. And if not, then I'll kind of take that game off and be at home watching games. And I'll get to Milwaukee usually 3 or 4 times a year. Very similar when I have another player coming in that maybe I haven't seen in a while. And then Indiana, I'll usually go to typically once or twice a year. Last year I had T.J. McConnell and Doug McDermott on the team, and this year I've got T.J. McConnell still there, and then a rookie Johnny Furphy, who will probably spend a lot of time with their G League team. So I'll probably make some trips over to Indiana to catch both their G League team and the Pacers when they're playing back-to-back days.
I love Conseco. Well, it's not Conseco
now it's
anymore.
Gainbridge Field House is what it's called.
Well,
FedEx Forum was modeled after it.
It was originally modeled after it. They did not do the steepness the way they did at the Pacers' place. It's my favorite arena of all time. The way it was when I went. I got to visit it before they built FedEx Forum because I knew they were going to take those plans, and they brought a bunch of people over, and it was really fun. And I've seen a lot of arenas in my day, but I always like that one. What is your favorite arena? What do you think is the best one to watch a game?
Well, I think what you're talking about too with Indiana, they have probably one of the, if not the best lobby atrium area. When you walk in there, it's really, really nice, high level. I mean, me as a basketball fan, Dallas has a great arena. I love, just because I'm a little bit old school, is seeing a game at MSG. It's the Mecca. Obviously, it hasn't changed in so many years.
Right.
But you can't go wrong. It's similar, look, being here in Chicago and going to Cubs games at Wrigley. I'm very nostalgic when it comes to old-time historic stadiums, especially in baseball, and I think the same goes for basketball. So I love getting up to Madison Square Garden for Knicks games. I've got Miles McBride on the Knicks, so definitely will be up there a couple times as well to visit with him. But there's a lot of stadiums I have not gone to. Believe it or not, I've never been to a Raptors game in that stadium, and I've got a player that is fighting to make the Raptors this year, Bruno Fernando, and if he makes the team, I'll probably get up to visit him. I was able to get out and get to my first in-person Lakers game last December when the Grizzlies were out there. I've been to a Clippers game before. Never been to a Warriors game, but I heard that could take the cake in terms of night.
Well, the Tigers are going to play USF, San Francisco, in that arena.
Well, there you go. You have to tell me how it is.
I will try to tell you. I've done a game in Toronto, but believe it or not, it was before they built the new stadium. We did it in the Maple Leaf Gardens.
Wow.
Tigers played Wisconsin and that was a promotion that was done by some company that moved it to Canada for whatever reason, and then stiffed everybody. Nobody got paid. Wisconsin and Memphis got stiffed.
Wow. And look, I don't want to discount FedEx Forum. Obviously, it's a very nice arena.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Now, in today's NBA, it's funny to say because we remember it just like yesterday when they were moving from the Pyramid to the Forum, but it is outdated. And I think it would behoove the Grizzlies and the Tigers and FedEx Forum to make some updates and some upgrades in the next 3 or 4 years.
You know they're spending $550 million to redo it.
I did not know that.
That's a whole brouhaha about how the state came up with a bunch of money and the Grizzlies wanted it all. Even though Robert Parra is worth whatever billions he's worth, he's never put a penny into that stadium. But anyway, they've tried to do a whole money grab, and if it wasn't for Fred Smith, they would have gotten it all. But the Tigers are getting some. 901 FC got stiffed. Anyway, that's life in the big city. I got to tell you, when we talk about a particular entity like ESPN. ESPN.com did the Western Conference predictions. Really, that comes down to one or two people, right, that are doing that. But they actually have Memphis as the 9th best team in the Western Conference, tied with Houston. I tend to think that if Zach Edey, your guy, who, by the way, will take on Klingon in November, that'll be fun.
Yep.
When Portland and Memphis hook up. But I tend to think if Edey is as good as we think he'll be and Ja returns to his level of play, you got Bane, who's a superstar in the making, Jaren Jackson Jr., who knows how good Marcus Smart will be, but you got to figure he was Defensive Player of the Year one year. I can't see how that group isn't in the top 6 in the Western Conference. Tell me I'm wrong because you're objective.
Well, look, we talked about this before, and I don't totally disagree with ESPN. I think is it possible for the Grizzlies? Again, I keep saying this, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is the truth. It all depends on health. So if they are healthy, and let's assume that the likes of Phoenix is healthy, Denver, Minnesota, OKC, even New Orleans, these young up-and-coming teams that have started to establish themselves as real Western Conference championship contenders and NBA Finals contenders, let's assume they're all healthy. I don't think it's too far-fetched to put the Grizzlies in the top 6, but again, could they be in the top 8 or 9? Absolutely. Now, I put them ahead of Houston. Houston 2 years ago was a dumpster fire. Last year, they made some strides. They started to – you could really see what this young core of all these young draft prospects and Jalen Green and Sengun and what they could become as they continue to mesh together.
Well, now they got Steven Adams, too. So
but that doesn't do anything much for me compared to the Grizzlies. I would put the Grizzlies, if they're healthy, light years ahead of where Houston is. But again, you talk about some of these other teams I mentioned, is a fully healthy Memphis Grizzlies team going to beat out a fully healthy OKC team in what we've seen, fully healthy Denver, Minnesota, even Phoenix? I mean, right there's 4 teams. Dallas, can't forget Dallas, what they did last year, obviously. There's 5. Right. And so, in that regard, yeah, you could definitely put Memphis in rounding out that top 6. But I do think it's very, very competitive in the West. Again, if you got a healthy Zion Williamson with New Orleans, they could be there. It's really interesting to see where Utah is going to be, because they always fluctuate. They retained Lauri Markkanen after there was so much trade speculation on him this summer, and they're always a team that the last couple of years has started out so hot and then really cooled off by December, January, and then they just planned to be in the lottery again. But look, I wouldn't completely knock them out of playoff contention. Same goes with Sacramento, the Clippers. So there are a lot of dark horses and good teams in the West that could all of a sudden be there in the top 5 to 8 come April.
All right, you mentioned Zion. You mentioned New Orleans. I believe they were 6 in that poll by ESPN, a power ranking, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask you this tough question. Starting today, knowing what you know, who would you rather have? Zion, who was the number 1 pick, or Ja, who was the number 2 pick in that draft?
Knowing what I know, Ja, primarily because he has proven he can stay healthy long term. And obviously there's been little injuries here and there with Ja and all the stuff off the court. I'm not factoring that into consideration. If I'm going off of what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years since they've been in the league, I would bet more on Ja for the long-term health. I think Zion is just as good of a franchise player to build around. I just don't believe in his ability to stay healthy for an 82-plus game season year in and year out. I do feel that much more confident saying that with Ja. I mean, both are elite-level talents, but if I'm building around a player right now, again, knowing what I know, I would go with Ja. And it's not to take anything away from New Orleans making that decision. It's the same thing. Again, it's not the same thing because these two are not really fair comparisons. But years ago, when Greg Oden was the number 1 overall pick and Durant was number 2, you can't fault Portland for going with Oden.
No.
Because everyone thought he should be the number 1 pick. He was so dominant. He just never really lived up and stayed healthy to what you wanted to see a superstar become.
Oh, no, he was supposed to be the next Shaq. I mean, everybody
Absolutely.
had that penciled in. Yeah, no, I agree.
And I don't think that was a bad decision. You're going off of the information you have. Now, again, other quote-unquote busts, like Hasheem Thabeet, I think he was, the 2nd pick with Memphis years ago?
Oh, that was a
we
big
all know
mistake.
how that goes.
Yeah.
And that one was a little bit different.
That was poor scouting right there. I saw that guy in the NCAA tournament when Connecticut was playing and Memphis was playing Missouri in the Elite Eight in Phoenix, and I'm on the record saying that I don't understand, because this is before the Grizzlies even took him. I don't understand how Thabeet could be in the conversation. It was clear he was not a great basketball player. That was a pure hype machine right there for sure. I don't disagree with anything that you've said so far, but I do want to remind you that Zion Williamson played a lot more games this year than John Morant.
This year, yes, but I'm just more talking about projecting out long-term what I've seen. He's obviously missed tons of games. His weight's always been an issue. There's a lot of pressure that you're putting on those feet and those knees every single night if you're Zion. And again, yes, it's the way Ja plays. I mean, the guy bounces off anybody going to the rim. He falls every other possession and bounces right back up. That, I would say, gives you a little bit of anxiety watching that every single time if he's a franchise player. But again, going off of what we know now, I would bet more on Ja's long-term health. And I would say, is he a better player? Like, you could make that argument for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really splitting hairs. I wouldn't sit there and say for sure 100 times over Ja is such a better player like you'd have with Durant versus Oden in that conversation. But again, we've seen how rare a talent Ja is, and there's not many players with his speed, athleticism, and body control in the NBA.
Oh, and just by body type, the guy that would be most prone to injuries would be Zion because, let's face it, he's carrying a lot more weight, and that's an issue. All right, last thing. We haven't talked since the Olympic Games. I saw the news. Gershon Yabusele signed with Philadelphia. He's the guy that the U.S. could not stop, that French guy. Also, Gabby Williams, who's played in the WNBA before, played at Connecticut. She was on the French team. She signed, I think, with their old team, Seattle. My question is, those Olympic Games were incredible. How much do you think the games were really grown? And frankly, how much do you think the women's side really was missed because the USA team didn't pick up Caitlin Clark?
Right. Well, I think first off, the games have grown exponentially. I think the attraction around both men's and women's basketball and going into this Summer Olympics, knowing that now the USA team is laden with stars, which you really rarely see in the last several years. And you always talk about it, right? Why isn't Curry playing? Why isn't Durant? All these guys playing together, on the same team. And I think seeing that was remarkable because you've got all these international superstars out there, Giannis and Jokic, playing on their national teams. And now you've seen the U.S. attract every top star you could possibly imagine. And so I think that theme is only going to continue when we see the Olympics again in 28 in L.A. I'm hopeful we will. And so I think that's really increased the popularity of basketball in the Olympics. I'd have to believe, for where I'm sitting, it's the number one watched sport in the Olympics. I mean, maybe gymnastics, maybe track and field. But
I would say gymnastics for sure.
Yeah, I just got tunnel vision when it comes to the NBA and basketball in the Olympics. And,
but
I kind of have the other stuff on in the background. But,
I'm going to look that up. I'm going to find out which of the Olympic sports drew the best television ratings. Andy, we're out of time. As always, we appreciate it. We'll talk more next Friday.
Sounds great. Happy birthday to Kobe Bryant as well.
There you go. That's sad for sure. What an unfortunate circumstance that was. That is our man on the NBA. That is Andy Schiffman. He's brought to you by Miramichi. Oh, yeah. What a great golf experience that is. It's so beautiful out there. First 9 holes, well, they're a little bit more wide open than the next 9 are a little bit more like a walk in the woods, hills, and a stream that meanders throughout, and the waterfalls. I mean, it's all just gorgeous. And it's all very competitive. If you want, you can go back 7,000 yards. You can move up to make it a little easier. I'm just telling you, it's the true golf experience. From the driving range to the practice area to the clubhouse, everything you want. The food's terrific. You can't help but love the total golf experience at Miramichi, 12 minutes north of downtown, 22 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. It's not far, and it's excellent. It's Miramichi. We pause for a second. When we come back, we end our week with Brian Dacus. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
like a pro and support a great cause during the sales drive at Landers Ford in Collierville, Landers Ford South in South Haven, and Landers Ford North in Covington. We've provided over 100 new Fords to be driven by the pros at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Now they're all being sold with demo prices. That's right. Over 100 new Fords driven by the pros are being sold with demo pricing below market value. A portion of the proceeds go directly to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. This is a once-a-year opportunity to trade up and drive like a pro while supporting a great cause. Visit LandersMemphis.com. That's LandersMemphis.com. Or come see us at Landers Ford in Collierville, Landers Ford South in South Haven, or Landers Ford North in Covington. With our Landers Easy Pass, you can get top dollar for your trade-in to help you save even more. Don't miss your chance. Reserve your demo-priced new Ford driven by a pro at the FedEx St. Jude Championship and lock in low APR financing. Remember, if it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much.
We're in the break room at a traditional jewelry store here. Hey, Mark, I know it's our job here to try and sell every piece of jewelry, but don't sell this ring. I'm going to try to use my employee discount to buy it for my wife.
Okay, but you know you can get a better deal at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds? Are you crazy? They're not like the boss here.
All I'm saying is I got a pair of diamond set earrings there for my wife and paid a lot less than what we charge here, even after my employee discount.
Wow. You never know who you'll see shopping at Genesis Diamonds. With no middleman pricing on the best selection of diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bands, and bracelets, it's a no-brainer. I admire your dedication to our jewelry store and not going to Genesis. I know the boss really appreciates your loyalty.
It's just the right thing to do, man.
And it's nice your wife won't mind getting a smaller diamond.
On second thought, can you cover me while I take a break?
Genesis Diamonds, the smart alternative to old-fashioned jewelry shopping. With more selection, lower prices, higher quality, stronger warranties, and zero pressure. At Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
The Mitsubishi Final Days of Summer sales event is going strong at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. So come get bang for your buck with 420 total range and 64 combined MPGE in 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. We Gossett $34,770 or $299.98 a month. And check out 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. We Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we Gossett and Gossett Motor Cars.
RZO 35,297, MSRP 47,470, 36-month, 30,000-mile lease, 44.53 due at signing, 1,095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile excess wear and tear. Eclipse RZO 65,450, MSRP 28,745, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
Cruising through our week. High school football tonight. Lots of Tigers news, that's for sure. I got some interesting tidbits I'll give you in a second. Bryant Dacus joins us here. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. You know, Matt is a big Tigers supporter. In his phone number, he's got GUR for that very reason. But look it up, EflinInsurance.com, and you'll see what they do is they collaborate with you to best protect you. Yeah, it's a unique thing. They sit down, they get to know you and your family, and then once they figured out your budget, they find the perfect protection for your car, your home, or your future with the exact right life insurance for you. That's how they do small to mid-sized businesses with commercial insurance. They knew you, your product, your employees, what your forecast is for the next few years, what's really important to protect, and they find that commercial insurance that is perfection. All you got to do is call or go to the website and then set up a collaborative meeting, and then they will protect you. That's how they do it at the Eflin Insurance Team. Bryant Dacus, the number one spending NIL basketball school is Arkansas.
Yeah, how about
Remember
that?
Eric Musselman was leaving because it wasn't very good, and Calipari said he wasn't getting it at Kentucky. Now they're number one. So
Yeah.
he and then the Tyson folks and the Walmart folks, they have a Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
They've done their thing. Kansas, too, not a surprise. BYU?
Yeah, how about that?
That's crazy. Number 3, Kentucky, which upped their game because Calipari complained. 4, Indiana, Penn State, Baylor, Louisville's 8, Alabama 9, Illinois 10, Texas Tech, Duke, UConn 13, North Carolina, Tennessee, Memphis 16, ahead of Texas and
Wow.
Ohio State. That's impressive.
That's very impressive.
But, wow. I don't know what the differences are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right behind Tennessee. You're right ahead of Texas.
It's good company for
that's
sure.
Pretty amazing. Connecticut, North Carolina
Yeah.
are just in your neighborhood. It was interesting. I had no idea BYU would be third because have they been that good? Not really.
No, and I think you brought up some interesting points and some interesting teams because you mentioned Arkansas number 1. Eric Musselman has talked about NIL.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kentucky. Calipari has mentioned NIL. You mentioned BYU, who just lost their coach. Those are 3 schools now in the top 5 that all have new coaches, and I think a lot of teams in college athletics, whether it's basketball or football, are seeing coaches leaving, and they know how big NIL is, how much NIL makes a difference. And so I think, in order to entice coaches to come to their school, I mean, Calipari's been very open about the fact that when the Tyson family and Arkansas came to him and talked to him about the job. At first, he was kind of, no, I'm good at Kentucky. But then once they started talking about, hey, look, this is the money you're going to have. This is what you're going to be able to do to put together a team. He was like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. And so I think schools are seeing how big NIL is and how enticing that is for coaches to come and be a part of their program. And so they're doing everything they can to up that and get that money flowing in. So, that doesn't surprise me. And, but for Memphis to be right there, right in front of Texas. I mean, Texas, we know how much money they have. They like to flaunt their money down in Texas. They've got a beautiful new basketball arena that they opened a couple years ago. So to be one spot ahead of them, one spot behind Tennessee, and those other teams you listed, that's incredible company for the University of Memphis.
I want to say that's their 3rd arena, by the way, in Texas, like the last 30 years.
Yeah,
so.
they like putting up arenas.
Yeah, they got the money to do it, that is for sure. When they see that they're behind Memphis in this thing
even
at
more
17,
money, just wait. Yeah.
Look out. They're going to start spending. Penny had his shoes pinched by a porch pirate.
Crazy.
Penny got pinched by a porch pirate. I love the alliteration of all that. But they found the guy. 42-year-old guy from South Haven.
Yeah.
I don't know if they got the shoes because he got 26 out of the 40 pair.
Smart, they didn't, but we'll see. What a weird story.
What do you got to do? Insure the shipments now?
I don't know.
You got to come by guard. You wonder seriously. Poor Penny in this because he's truly a victim.
Yeah.
But this guy does he know where Penny lives and he's kind of casing
those
the
are my
place?
question.
And I thought there was like a gate to that community. I know where that community is. How the heck did he know? That's really kind of strange, right?
Yeah, well,
I hope all this comes out.
I do too, and Zach and I were talking about this yesterday of I have so many questions. First off, is this guy just walking around and just sees a box? At some point, does he see it's made out to Penny Hardaway? I mean, how does this all go? If it is a gated community, you would think Penny Hardaway would live with some sort of security around him. And so, how did he get access to Penny Hardaway's house? I have those questions. And then right after that, we hear Rick Pitino has his office looted, and they take a sword. I mean, a
What's
commemorative
he doing with a sword
it's
in there?
hilarious. So
Maybe it was given him to by Chaminade.
Who knows? I mean, good Lord. But 2 very interesting stories with 2 pretty high-profile head coaches in college basketball.
Crazy. All right, yesterday, groundbreaking. One of the things that really struck me, I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't know if you've seen it yet, because we've all been watching the construction site and the coming down and the implosion of the press box. I walked in there yesterday, and I think they used part of the Simmons Bank money for the sponsorship. They have power washed the whole place.
Oh, wow.
I'm serious. I'm not sure, with the remaining 32,000 seats that can be sold, that the old girl has ever looked better.
Wow.
I mean, in terms of cleanliness,
it's great.
And the locker room looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Of course, that always. I don't think there's a better. In all the years that I've covered any sports, any locker rooms,
Right.
I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a bunch of NFL stadiums.
Sure.
I'm not sure I've seen a better locker room than Memphis has in the south end of Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium.
Yeah, no, it's definitely beautiful. But I'm glad to hear that with all this construction, they're doing other things to make Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium look as good as possible, and it's definitely going to be different. And I was glad to hear they kind of released the information before that ceremony yesterday afternoon. But it seems like they're going to try to make it as easy as possible for fans and as seamless as possible for fans, which I was kind of worried about. With all of that active construction and stuff going on, I was wondering, would parking be affected? Would trying to get into the gates be affected? And it sounds like, and getting to those seats over there, because there will still be some seats on that side.
There will be, and I'm going to say the corners, from maybe the 10-yard line in, because there's these fences where there's a gap. Those will be buffer zones. You will not be able to sit in those seats, but everything else. So I am sure there will be parking on the west side. Here's the question I have, because Hollywood has always become very congested right around game time, and the majority of the seats are now on that east side. I wonder how crazy that's going to be. My thing is, if you're going to the Tiger games now, and we know it's become more and more a thing to go to Tiger Lane.
Absolutely.
Go earlier and get there early and walk over to Tiger Lane and then walk, because it's going to be crazy with the majority of the fans. And really, I think there's more parking east than there is, rather west than there is east, where the majority of the seating is going to be now.
Yeah, and so it sounds like parking won't be too affected. I know they talked about the concourse, and it's going to remain open, and so they said you'll still be able to walk around the entire stadium, which is definitely great. So they're definitely trying to make it as seamless as possible, and we know these renovations are needed, and so it makes it a little more difficult for fans, but they're trying to make it as easy, which I think is great for the university.
High hard one you use on your show, 32,000 available seats.
Okay.
What's the average attendance going to be this year?
I hope it's around 32. I mean, I think with this team and with what the expectations are, I think they're going to get off to a hot start, and hopefully people will rally around this team. I mean, what's a better team to rally around? We always talk in the afternoons over these last couple of seasons of it's getting harder in college athletics with the transfer portal and new faces, and trying to feel like the team. Well, this team, you've got a coach that's been there forever. You've got a quarterback that feels like he's been there forever. You've got weapons that have been around. So, this is a team that I think everyone has come to know and love, and with the excitement, it should be great crowds for every game.
Next Friday, we break down the game.
That's right.
Northern Alabama.
And we get to see them this weekend. They get a week 0 game.
I know, so we can do a little scouting.
That's right.
I'm going to do that for sure. Do you know what time they play?
I believe that's a 6 o'clock game against SEMO. So excited. ESPN game, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Well, they're looking for programming in week 0. That is for sure. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Talk to you next Friday. Bryant brought to you in part by Grind City. Here's a guy who not only loves the product, but he's been to the venue for concerts. You can't beat it. You see the city lights. You see the bridges. It's a perfect spot for going today. Before it gets really hot and humid again, go today. It's Friday. Enjoy the great product and sit out underneath the umbrellas and take it all in as the world goes by. Have Poppy's Pills. Tell them I sent you for Poppy's Pills. You'll love that, or the lager, or the Absolute Tiger Tail. That's the craft malt liquor, unlike anything your father or your grandfather used to drink. It's the taste of Memphis. It's right north of downtown. It's Grind City Brewing with great product and great concerts. It's now an icon of Memphis. That'll do it for us for this week. We'll be back bright and early Monday morning. Johnny Radio's right around the corner. Have a great weekend, everybody.